Hello, I'm going to be talking to you about today 10 strategies using Pear Deck to amplify student learning. So this is going to be done asynchronously on our ETCN EdTech website. You'll be following along with this video as well as going through this presentation on Pear Deck asynchronous. So let's launch this real quickly. I'm going to launch this by going to add-ons. This is launching any sort of Pear Deck. Open Pear Deck add-on. And as you know from our previous videos of getting started with Pear Deck is that once you have the add-on launched, you have all these opportunities to edit the slides that you're working with. So, and templates. But we're going to just start the lesson today. And while you're working on our ETCN EdTech website, it'll be student-paced, and you'll just log in and go at your own speed. But we're going to do instructor-paced today. And when it's instructor-paced, I get to determine how fast and slow we're going to go through. And really the goal today is I'm going to show you really essentially what each of these strategies are and how you can utilize them in your instruction. So, and I got this teacher dashboard popping up as well. You can get this teacher dashboard while you're working synchronously and asynchronously. So just wanted to let you know that as you're going through this. So I'm going to close the join code and I'm going to keep this right here at the very top right here. And I'm going to close out of that. And I'm going to have you focused on this specific slide after I close out. So here we go. So here are the 10 strategies that we are going to focus on. And those strategies are Quickwrites, multiple choice and polling, which can be done for retrieval practice, social emotional learning, building our students' ability to assess how they're feeling and to reflect on how they're doing. There's going to be an opportunity for you to learn how to include a 3D virtual reality to engage your students, opportunities to practice metacognition and self-assessment, concept mapping, Frayer Vocabulary, using Draggables on a map to provoke discussion, and that can be on any sort of like graphic organizer, map, etc. Critical thinking, and using the notice and wonder strategy to activate prior knowledge. So here we go. The first one is Quickwrites. You can develop that by really essentially going to that slide deck. I'm going to show you here on the slide deck here. What I essentially did, I had the base slides that I already had. I put in the title. I created a box just to demonstrate that there's going to be a box there. And I like to demonstrate the prompt. And then I like to have a model response as a mentor text to help support students. I always tell students, hey, you can take this model response and I would like you to think about how you could model your response based on this structure. And then usually give students, 2 to 5 minutes to respond. And then I like to do usually a think, pair, share. That can be in person when students are paired together, or you can pair them in breakout rooms and come back. And that's essentially what a Quickwrite is. It's there to activate prior knowledge, and you can do it to essentially assess them as a formative assessment to begin class. So here's the next one that you can focus on, and that is multiple choice. And it could be a poll as well. And when you see this on student view, you can essentially see all their responses and the options that are here to provide. In this one specifically, I put Rome, Florence, Vienna, Austria as some of the options here to test whether students know where this is located. And it's always great to include a visual or some sort of context clue to help students while they're focusing on retrieval practice, which is, multiple choice question. You can do this with vocabulary as well, based on images that are associated with each other. And it's just another great way for you to focus on retrieval practice as well as a practice on that formative assessment. And it can be utilized at the beginning, middle, and end of your lesson, just depending on what you would like to do. And I built that slide essentially. Really what I did is just create the title, create the question, found an image that's associated with that on Google Images, and put that in. And then I just put in the multiple choice icon for Pear Deck, and my slide was completed. Next is social emotional learning. And I like to do social emotional learning at the beginning of each lesson. And essentially, you get to determine the barometer of the room and how your students are feeling. And I like to use templates like the one on the right where it says I am feeling. And I like using emojis or different types of faces. For students, I also use mood meters as well. There's just a wide variety of things that you can do. And I like to do like primary feelings and secondary feelings because we all feel, multiple things at once. And I like doing it in different colors. And it's great to see where all your students are and then share with the class where our classmates are at in terms of how they're feeling to begin your lesson. And that, builds a relationship aspect of your class, and it builds a classroom community knowing that your students are in this together and they're going through, life. They're navigating life and knowing that, school is just part of that. And there's a lot of other things going on. So like I did with the other slides, I turned it into a draw slide here. A draw slide, I include the template slide in the background. I found this off Google Images right here. And then I just wrote these in here. So what happens when on the student end on this, I incorporated a 3D image. So students will see a 3D image here of an environment. So students will click on the link that is on the slide on the student end, and they would see that. So in order to do that, what I did is I included this link at the bottom of the slide here. The students, this is embedded into the slide, and on the student end, they will see that image populate in that slide. And all you need to do is you click on the website, adding icon, and what you need to do is you need to embed this link. So you need to copy and paste that link and place it in here for students to view. And I like to use 3D images to activate prior knowledge. Activating prior knowledge can really help students figure out kind of like, oh, I've seen this before, or this reminds me of something. Can be, a variety of different 3D images or visuals that can relate to maybe what they learned last time during a lesson, or maybe something that that maybe your students already have an association with. So it's really important that you do that when you're engaging them in something new or having them remember something from our previous lesson. The next one is metacognition, and I like to do metacognition and summarization at the end of each lesson, really essentially giving them a protocol like this where you provide them a prompt, summarize what you learned from today's lesson, and then have them provide one question they may have, as well as what do they want to further investigate. So it makes them first, think about what were some of the main points to take away from today. What's that additional question, or maybe, the student didn't have an opportunity to ask that question during class, and they can provide it there and you can answer it at the end of class, or, send them an email, or, make sure that question is addressed to the entire class. And then what do they want to further investigate? Maybe that will allow you to provide, further materials and resources for your students. So To build this slide, I essentially did very similar type strategy as I did with the Quickwrite. I created the box here where students will write their response. I made it a text box using Pear Deck. I created the title. And then maybe since this lesson was about ancient Rome, I provide an image of the city there. So moving forward, concept mapping. Concept mapping is a great strategy for students to build conceptual frameworks of essentially what they are learning about. And it starts off with like a central idea. Maybe they're focusing on the story Romeo and Juliet. And then you branch off a number of different characteristics related to the story: characters, symbols, theme, plot, notes. So these can be, added upon by the student. And, maybe the theme could be, like a tragedy, love story. Then the plot, you could have 3 or 4 lines that they draw, and they talk about 3 major plot points, symbols, and just maybe talking about some of the characters there. And to build this slide, I essentially created a number of different shapes. I inserted shapes, and then I drew circles, and then I shaded them with the paint here, and then I put the main topics that I would want my students to use for this conceptual map, and then I would make this a draw slide here. And what's great is that you can add, for example, audio to the slide. Maybe they're doing this asynchronously for independent practice, or it could be homework, and you could add those directions there. Or you could include a read aloud from part of the story. Moving forward, let's talk about Frayer Vocabulary. Frayer Vocabulary is great because it provides students a number of modalities for them to learn that particular vocabulary word. It makes them provide the definition in their own words. They can draw a picture or meme. They can find a synonym or possibly an antonym of that word and utilize that word in a sentence. So what I did was I built the template here on a different slide by creating a number of different tables. I inserted tables, and then I created a really essentially 8x8 table, and then I put in the different categories, and then I shaded it, and then just created directions over here. And I always have those directions for this type of activity on the side. And then you could also add audio to make it more UDL friendly. So moving forward to the next one, I love the idea of Draggables, and this can be done for graphic organizers, concept mapping even as well. Activating prior knowledge at the beginning of the lesson. This could also be used as an assessment. When the students see this, they have 3 different draggables to mark those capitals, countries, and location of the landmark. Maybe I wanted them to find the United States capital, Washington, D.C., and also for them to place that landmark icon on possibly a landmark in California or Mount Rushmore or something like that. And it can be also used as a formative assessment tool at the end of the lesson. It can be used as a vocabulary assessment too. And it could provoke that discussion, whether that's in person or in a breakout room. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. And essentially, I created this by finding a world map. I put in a text box over here by clicking Insert Text Box, putting that over to the side. And then I put another text box here with a title. And then I made it a draggable slide here. This one's a critical thinking slide, and it's a drawing slide. And I like to do critical thinking, especially when I'm comparing and contrasting two or more ideas. And there's usually a prompt, which is on the upper right-hand side here. What are the similarities and differences in pet ownership between dogs and cats? And you can talk about what, in terms of how are you a pet owner when it comes to dogs? What are some routines and chores that you have to do with dogs? And then you have the same thing with cats. And then maybe you can come up with, the concept of what does it take to be a good pet owner? So there's a wide variety of things that you can do here. So, and I built this by, I inserted the shapes and I made it different colors. And then I added text boxes on the right and left. And then I made this a draw slide. So students would be able to draw as well as do a number of different text boxes here for this specific activity and strategy. So for our last strategy, I like to use Notice and Wonder, graphic organizer or chart to activate prior knowledge and to kind of build that engagement or that anticipatory set before the lesson begins, or even during guided practice. They could be learning new vocabulary, grammar, punctuation, or even a new math concept, and they can talk about like, hey, what do I notice about this? What are some patterns? Usually have them write 2 or 3 things of what they notice, and what are 2 things or 3 things that they wonder. What are 3 questions that they have that could possibly extend their knowledge of what is being taught? So this is a great one that I like to utilize during the beginning of the lesson or guided practice of a lesson. And I built this by creating a table. I inserted a table here, and then it was a 4 table, and then I adjusted it to create the 2 titles, and then I filled it in with different colors here, and then I turned it into a draw slide here. So finally, now it's your turn. So you had the opportunity to go through this as a student, and also you had the opportunity to view this slide deck. Now I want you to go and really build your own Pear Deck slide deck. And if you click on here, this is just a quick tutorial that I've released before of getting started with Pear Deck, just going through building each of the slides, which I already kind of discussed in this video, but this is a little bit more in depth, and there's a step-by-step sequence. And once you're done, I would like you to then go to this link here, and I would like you to share a link to that slide deck that you built that you can share with your colleagues here, and you can get a description. So talk about, maybe it's an ESL lesson about, particular grammar, punctuation, or vocabulary word set, and you can talk a little bit about that there, write your name, and then essentially you would share that link there, and everyone could view it. And to share that link, you would click on Share on your finished slide template, and click on Share. Anyone with a link can be a viewer. You would copy that link, and then you would place it here by pasting it. And you would turn it into a hyperlink by pressing Control-K. And what that does with Control-K, it makes it active. So I hope that you've enjoyed looking at these strategies and looking at how this can be done on Pear Deck. This creates so many active learning opportunities that are overt and covert that really can revolutionize how you provide instruction to your class. And if you have questions about this, please reach out to me at mrhodes@educationtocareer.net. And I can't wait to see what you have created in the next few weeks, months, and school year. Thank you so much.